means that sentence number 1 expresses the exceptional situation. And sentence number 2 expresses the routine, just the routine. He will come tomorrow, then we'll discuss the issue. So this is the difference. So when we want to express the exceptional situation, which conjunction do we use? If. Okay? If. So if here means exceptional. The word if is used to talk about a situation, an exceptional situation. Situation တစ်ခုတစ်ခုထူးထူးခြားခြား exceptional တစ်ခုမသေးကြတဲ့တစ်ခုပြောတဲ့အခါကျရင် if ကိုသုံးတယ် Okay, they are also called conditional clauses or conditional sentences. Conditional clauses are a part of a conditional sentence. အဲ့တော့ conditional clause လို့ပြောတာကျမတို့ခေါင်းစဉ်က conditional clause ဒါပေမဲ့ conditional sentence ထဲမှာ conditional clause ရှိမယ်အဲ့တော့ what is a conditional sentence? Conditional sentence ဆိုတာဘာကိုပြောတာလဲ A conditional sentence states a condition and the outcome of that condition occurring. A condition and then outcome. So in a sentence we have two parts. One part is the condition and another part is the outcome of that condition. And then a condition is something that can only happen if or unless something else occurs. So that's why we use the word if or unless in the conditional sentences. Conditional clauses. A conditional sentence contains how many parts? Two parts. It means that two clauses. The first clause is an independent clause. Independent clause. We can use it independently. It is not for example, what shall I say? It is not a dependent clause. Dependent clause means it cannot stand alone. It cannot exist alone. Here, main clause and another clause is a dependent clause. That almost always begins with if or unless. We usually call it if clause. How many clauses are there in a conditional sentence? Two clauses. They are if clause and main clause. Okay, what does if clause express? If clause ကဘာကိုပြလဲ condition ကိုပြပြီးတော့နောက်ကဟိုကကြတော့ main clause ကကြဘာကိုပြမလဲ outcome ကိုပြပေးမယ် Okay. Okay, here we are going to move on to conditional clause. What is a conditional clause? A conditional clause is a type of subordinate clause most commonly introduced by the conjunction if or unless. So conditional clause means the if clause. Sometimes we use unless in the place of if. Okay. Here, let's look at an example. For example, if I study hard, I will pass the exam. Which clause is the if clause? If I study hard. The main clause is I will pass the exam. The condition is if I study hard. ငါစာကြိုးစားရင်ဘာဖြစ်မလဲ I will pass the exam. ဒါ तू ကနောက်ကနေဖြစ်လာမယ် outcome အကျိုးကျေးဇူးကိုပြောတာ Or we can write in this way too. We can start with the main clause. I will pass the exam. ပြီးရင်ဘာဆက်လာမလဲ If I study hard လို့ပြောင်းပြန်လဲရေးလို့ရမယ်အဲ့လိုရေးတဲ့အခါကျရင် If I study hard ကိုရှေ့မှာထားရင်ဘာလေးပါမလဲ We have to use a comma. And then now let's study the sentences. These sentences are just the sentences in your textbook. Okay, can you read out these sentences together? If you study hard, you will pass the exam. The second sentence is, if I were you, I would study more. And then third sentence, if you had warned me, I would have studied more for the test. So in each sentence, let's look at each of the sentences. Each sentence is this. Let's look at the first sentence. No? If you study hard, you will pass the exam. Here in this sentence, is this the real or imaginary situation? What is the situation here? The situation is if you study hard. This is the situation. So, is this a real or imaginary situation? Real situation. And then, which past tense is used in each part of the sentence? So, in each part of the sentence here means, if you study hard, in if clause, which tense is used? Simple present. What is the verb in this sentence? Study. And then, in the main clause, which one is the verb? Will pass. No? So, which tense? Simple present and simple future. In if clause, we use simple present. In main clause, we use future tense. And then, let's look at the second sentence. If I were you, I would study more. Is it a real or imaginary situation? Imaginary situation. Can I be you? No. No? Ngada mim phit me so yin blo phit nai ma le lu yi ya, no? So this is an imaginary situation. Which verb tense is used in each part of the sentence? In if clause, which is the verb? Where. No? Where is the in past tense? No, the past form of verb to be, and then in the main clause, which is a verb, would study. So here, which tense is used? The future in the past. No, so the where is the past tense, and then would plus study. This is the future tense in the past. No, and then let's look at the third sentence. If you had warned me, I would have studied more for the test. No? So is it real or imaginary situation? Real. No? If you had warned me, nina nga o thri pe ke me so yin, no? Nga di the po wi samwe de di po wi sa ji ke ma po. Ku ja ro samwe wa le phie bi twa bi, sa leမကြည့်ခဲ့ရဘူးเนาะပြောတာပြောရင်ဒါလည်းပါပဲလေ imaginary ပဲ situation. Here what verb tense is used in if clause? Had warned. This is in past perfect tense, and in the main clause I would have studied. So this is in the past perfect in future, no? Perfect tense in future perfect in the past. No? Okay, so you can see this, and here you see the differences. No? So which sentences are real? Only the first sentence. No? Only the first sentence is the real, and then the second and third sentences are imaginary. So how are these two sentences different? သူတို့နှစ်ခုကဘာကွာလဲ နော်သူတို့ကကြတော့ပြီးသွားတယ်ပြီးသွားတာအရင်တော့ဖြစ်နိုင်လားဖြစ်နိုင်မလားဖြစ်နိုင်တယ်အခုကြတော့မဖြစ်နိုင်တော့ဘူးအဲ့တော့ तू က real တော့မဟုတ် unreal နော် imaginary in the past နော်အတိတ်ကိုပြန်စဉ်းစားတာအဲ့အရှိရတာနော်ငါစာမေးပွဲမှာကောင်းကောင်းမဖြေနိုင်ဘူးဒါအတိတ်အဲ့ဒီအတိတ်ရဲ့အရှိမှာဘာဖြစ်ခဲ့ရလဲငါ့ကိုဟာနေကြိုပြီးတော့နှစ်ဖက်ကြားဆောင်းပွဲရှိရလို့ပြောလိုက်ရင်ငါကြိုပြီးတော့စာချက်ခဲ့မှာပေါ့เนาะဒီတဲ့ပိုပြီးစာကြိုးစားမှာပေါ့ဆိုပြောတဲ့ဥစ္စာဒါဘာဖြစ်မလဲအတိတ်ရဲ့တွေဆိုတော့ဒါ imaginary in the past ဒါမှမဟုတ်ရင် unreal in the past တကယ်ပေးခဲ့လားသတိပေးခဲ့လားမပေးခဲ့ဘူးเนาะစာမေးပွဲလည်းဖြေနိုင်လားမဖြေနိုင်ခဲ့ဘူးအဲ့တော့ပြန်ပြီးတော့ဘာဖြစ်တာလဲနောင်တရပြီး regret ဖြစ်ပြီးတော့ပြောတဲ့အခါကျရင်ဒါကိုသုံးတယ် and then what about the second sentence if I were you I would study more no ငါသာနင်ဖြစ်ခဲ့ရင်လေလို့ပြောတဲ့ဥစ္စာငါနေဘယ်လိုလုပ်ဖြစ်နိုင်မလဲမဖြစ်နိုင်ဘူးလုံးဝမဖြစ်နိုင်တာဆိုတော့ just the imagination no just imagination but this imagination is about the past time or present time အဲ့တော့ unreal ကဒီမှာ unreal past tense ဟုတ်တယ်ဒါပေမဲ့ဟိုဒီတစ်ခုကကြတော့ unreal ဖြစ်တယ် in the past နော်ရှေ့က unreal ဆိုပေမဲ့ तू ကဘာအတွက်ကိုသုံးတာလဲ present time အတွက်ကိုသုံးတာ imagine လုပ်တာအခုပြောလောလောဆယ်ပြောချင်တာကိုပြောတာဟိုကကြတော့နော် number 3ကကြတော့ unreal တော့ဟုတ်တယ်ဒါပေမဲ့ဘာဖြစ်လဲတကယ်အစစ်မဟုတ် imagine လုပ်တာဘယ်တော့မှအကြောင်းကို imagine လုပ်တာလဲဟိုးအရှိတုန်းကအကြောင်း imagine လုပ်တာအဲ့ဒီမှာကျမတို့အဲ့မှာ tense နဲ့ပတ်သက်တာကိုတစ်ချက်ပြောစရာရှိတယ်နော်တစ်ချက်ပြောစရာရှိအဲ့တော့ကျမတို့ကဘာလေးနဲ့ပြောလို့ရမလဲဆိုတော့ form တွေကိုတစ်ခက်ကြည့်ရင်လည်းပြောလို့ရမယ်နော် So how many types of sentences did you see as if tense? 3 types. No? Type 1, type 2, and type 3. No? Type 1 to 3 နဲ့ပဲမှတ်ထားပြီးတော့ type 1. In type 1, you can see no, 2 clauses. They are if clause and main clause. No? And when we consider the tense, no, the tense used in the if clause is simple, present, and in the main clause we use future or modal plus infinitive. Here, future or modal plus infinitive means future means will and verb infinitive. Modal and verb infinitive. What are the modal verbs? Can, shall, no, may. No, these are modal verbs. No, so no, the modal verbs can occur here too. So simple present and future tense. Can you read out the first sentence? If he is late, he will have to go without him. No? Here, the verb in the if clause is. It is in the present simple present tense, and then the verb in the main clause is will have to go. So will have. So this is in the future tense. Okay, but here sometimes there is an exception. There is an exception. It is also called type 0. No? Conditional 0. 0 means sometimes no, it is if it is a truth, no, general truth, we can use present simple in the place of future. For example, if you heat ice, it melts. No? အဲ့ဆိုရင်ရေခဲကိုအပူပေးတယ်အပူပေးတိုင်းဘာဖြစ်မှာပဲလဲပျော်သွားမှာပဲဒါအမြဲတမ်းမှန်တဲ့ဖြစ်ရဖြစ်တဲ့အတွက်ကြောင့်အမြဲတမ်းမှန်တဲ့ဖြစ်ရဖြစ်တဲ့အတွက်ကြောင့်ဒီဥစ္စာကိုဘာနဲ့ပြောလဲ present simple เนาะ it is also called เนาะ type 0လို့ခေါ်တာလဲခေါ်တယ် conditional 0လို့ခေါ်တယ်เนาะအဲ့တော့ဒီထဲမှာတော့ထည့်ပြီးတော့ပါမထားဘူးဒါပေမဲ့ဆရာတို့ဆရာမတို့သိထားပြီးတော့ကျောင်းသူကျောင်းသားတွေကိုလည်းဘာဖြစ်ထားရမလဲပြောထားရတဲ့အထဲမှာတော့ပါလိမ့်မယ် okay and then the second type 2a in type 2 in if clause we use simple past tense and here simple present becomes simple past tense and then in the main clause we have in the place of will and verb infinitive will becomes in the past so would and verb infinitive. Can you read out the example sentence? If I were you I would study more. Not the same sentence, the same example sentence. Here, in if clause, we use the past tense were, and then in the main clause, would and verb infinitive study. In type 3, in if clause, we use past perfect tense, and in the main clause, would, have, and past participle. Here again, simple past in the place of simple past. Past perfect tense. Past perfect tense. What is the form of past perfect tense? Had and past participle form. Had plus past participle form. So here,ဒီမှာကျတော့ဘာဖြစ်သွားမလဲအဲ့ဒီ had နေရာမှာဘာဖြစ်သွားမလဲ would have နဲ့ past participle form. No? If you had warned me, I would not have told your father about that party. No? Here in the if clause, had and past participle form. In main clause, would, not, and have and past participle form. So these are the different forms. And then when do we use these types of sentences? Conditional type 1 is used to show what? To show a likely or possible outcome that will probably happen if a specific condition is met. Now, if a specific condition is given by using the conditional clause, and then in the main clause, it shows the possible outcome. နော်အဲ့ဒါဘာဖြစ်လဲဒါ real နော်ဒါဒီ condition ရှိလို့ရှိရင်ဘာဖြစ်မလဲဒါဖြစ်မယ်ဆိုတော့ real outcome ကိုပြောတာ what about type 2နော် type 2 is used to show an unlikely or impossible outcome that probably wouldn't happen unless a specific condition were met နော်အဲ့တော့ तू က specific condition တစ်ခုပေးထားတယ်အဲ့ဒီ condition ဒါမရှိလို့ရှိရင်ဟိုဘက်ကတစ်ခုလည်းပဲဘာဖြစ်လဲဖြစ်နိုင်ရေးမရှိတာเนาะအဲ့တော့တစ်ခုမှတကယ်မဖြစ်နိုင်တဲ့အကြောင်းအရာကိုပြောတယ်ဟိုဘက်ကလည်းပဲတကယ်မဖြစ်နိုင်တာဒါသာဖြစ်ရင်ဒါဖြစ်မယ်လို့ပြောမယ်နှစ်ခုသလုံးကဖြစ်နိုင်လားမဖြစ်နိုင်ဘူးเนาะလက်ရှိအခြေအနေမှာလုံးဝမဖြစ်နိုင်တဲ့ imagination เนาะ just imagination ကိုဘာနဲ့သုံးထားလဲ imagination in the present ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ဘာကိုသုံးမလဲ type 2ကိုသုံးမယ် type 3ကကြတော့ to show a past regret or different outcome that would have happened if a specific condition had been met ခုန specific condition ကဘာဖြစ်ခဲ့တာဖြစ်ခဲ့ရင်လေအရင်တုန်းကသာဖြစ်ခဲ့ရင်အဲ့အချိန်မှာဘာဖြစ်ခဲ့မလဲခုန result ကရှိခဲ့မယ် outcome ရှိခဲ့မယ်အခုတော့ရှိလားမရှိဘူးအဲ့တော့ဒါလည်းပဲပါပဲလေ imagination ပဲ but imagination at present no it is in the past ဟုတ်ပြီနော်အဲ့တော့သုံးခုကို꿰ပြီနော်꿰ပြီဆိုတော့ဒါကဘာလဲဆိုတာ form ရဲ့ this is the use နော် okay so no to wind up how many types of conditional sentences are there 3 types no type 1 2 and 3 how are they different from each other no how are they in the use of the verb tenses and then in the use how to where to use no they are different no for verb tenses no we have two clauses how many what are the two clauses if clause and main clause in if clause if we use simple present in the main clause we use future tense no if we use would and verb infinitive in the if clause in the main clause past tense no and then sorry no if we use past tense in the if clause we use would plus verb simple in the main clause and then in type 3 no which tense do we use in if clause type 3 past perfect tense and then in the main clause would have and past participle form no and then how many imaginary situations are there in these 3 types of sentences 2 the first one is the just real condition and then the second one is the imaginary at present or in the past the second one present and then the third type 3 is the imaginary in the past no it also expresses the regret okay now we are going to do some exercises conditional clauses no these exercises are given in your textbook on page 13 what do you need to do on page 13 please read out the instruction supply the correct form of verb in brackets no? so you have to supply the correct form of the verbs in brackets now in the first sentence number 1 if the temperature falls below 0 water freezes no? so which type of conditional sentence is it type 1 no this is just the condition simple condition real condition so let's look at the verb in the if clause. What is the verb in if clause? False. In which tense is it? Simple present tense. So here in the main clause, which tense should we use? Future. So according to type 1, we should use future. So future tense so will freeze. Okay? Will freeze. But now when we think of the meaning of the context no if the temperature falls below 0 water always freezes ဟုတ်တယ်မလားရေ ရေခဲဖက်ရောက်သွားရင်ဘာဖြစ်မှာပဲလဲခဲမှာပဲအဲ့တော့ဒါဘာလဲဖြစ်နိုင်လဲနော် type 0လဲဖြစ်နိုင်တယ် type 0ဆိုရင် which tense are you going to use simple present tense နော် simple present tense ဆို simple present tense ဆိုတော့ freeze နော် freeze မှာဘာပါရတော့မလဲ s ပါမယ် simple present တုံးရင်အမြဲတမ်းဘာစဉ်းစားရမလဲ whether the subject is in singular form or plural form here water is in singular form it is an uncountable noun so freezes so both of the answers are acceptable will freeze or freezes okay so now please do your exercises from number 2 to 10 on your own you can discuss with your friend beside you
Education Channel